Minnesota has an abundance of talented musicians. Welcome to A Taste of Talent on the Road, where we will chat with Minnesota musicians of any genre, talking about their story and their music, shining a light on diversity in local music. I am your host, Jacob Woody. Let's find out what is vibing in the hearts and souls of Minnesota music. This is A Taste of Talent on the Road. Hello everybody, welcome to A Taste of Talent on the Road, and I am Jacob Woody, and I'm sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Lewy Ronken. Lewy, thanks for doing this, and you can open with your song whenever you're ready.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll
sure,
play a little guitar. How'd that be?
Let's do it.
There you go, a little picking.
Gorgeous. Oh, man. Well, Lewy, thanks again for joining me, and I really appreciate it. What's been going on? What's been new?
Oh, I haven't got anything new. You know me, I sit at home, I work in my shops. I love building things, and that's my passion in life at this time. I do a show once in a while. I just finished a show last weekend with Elvis. Did you know Elvis is
He's
still around?
Really?
He's still around, yeah.
Also,
still alive.
the myths are true.
So, yes, sir. So we did a county fair way out in North Dakota, so we got a chance to kick up our heels a little.
Nice. I bet that was fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Now, I want to mention right off the top here that it's been a hot minute since I've sat in this chair and been in this room with you, because, I mean, I'll talk about this later, but you're the one who taught me how to play guitar, and I bet it's kind of come full circle a little bit.
That's
almost.
right. Yep. Student is teaching the teacher now.
In some way, shape, or form. Well, let's just start with going way back and talking about how you got your start in playing.
Sure, I can do that. I came from a little town called Shevlin, Minnesota.
Shevlin.
And my parents had a farm. And when I was 10 years old, Dad gave up farming and we moved into Bemidji. And by that time, my mother had given me some piano lessons, which didn't really work out. But for some reason, I imagine it was probably Elvis on TV, I knew I wanted to play the guitar. I can remember announcing that to a classmate, in fact. And when we moved into Bemidji, just by chance, we moved right next door to a guitar teacher.
Oh.
And as it turns out, he was a tremendous teacher, at least for me. And so that's how it all got started. And it actually went pretty fast there. I was in a band within the first year, probably. And,
wow.
So I played a lot in my younger years. Yeah.
Well, and that's a good thing. And also, I'm also guessing your biggest influences also help shape the way you play. And so who would be your biggest influences?
Well,
I mean, this is kind of a...
Yeah, it's kind
softball.
of unfair to ask because I've always been the one that likes to come up with my own stuff. And I listen to people, but not with a passion. But the style I played as a youngster would have been a Chet Atkins type thing. I loved Chet Atkins and Merle Travis and some of those people from that era. I think it would have been only natural most people learning to play in those days would have started with country music because rock and roll was starting, absolutely. It was in its heyday then. But the teachers were a little older, and they weren't quite playing it yet,
Right.
So as a youngster, you're taught the names of the strings and then a few chords, and so then you can strum along. And I often give the analogy of people playing in church. You hear a lot of strumming in church music, Jesus loves me, this I know, they strum like that. Well, it doesn't take you long, and I tell this in a little Buddy Holly show I do, that as he progressed, you move to the next level, and the next level from a strumming guitarist is one that does this. So you're picking and playing a bass line and strumming at the same time, and that fit perfectly with the music of the day. The news is out all over town that you've been seen running around, but I know that I should leave, but then I just can't go. You win again. Hank Williams, of course, he was a huge star in those days. Sure. Influenced almost every musician out there.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird because it is like I'm getting another little lesson here. Yeah. That's how it all started. So, and it said that it took you not long to be in a band after you started learning. And I'm guessing then you learned pretty quickly in order to be in the band.
Well, that's due to this teacher I had. I think he saw a promise early on, and so he spent more time with me to begin with. But at the time, he was in a band, and he was playing that type of music.
Okay.
And he was going to college and getting his music degree. And I can remember him bringing home his worksheets from his theory courses.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole different way of teaching music. I was taught that way.
Oh, okay.
And I knew what the circle of fifths was when I was 10 years old, And
wow.
I probably didn't appreciate the significance of the stuff, but it came more naturally then. And as the years went by and I started all these garage bands and playing with my classmates and whatnot, I realized that why don't you understand that 4 chord goes there, or,
right,
or you need to put a 6th chord in there or something. And I just thought it was common knowledge, and it's not. But it was because of that unique footing I had at the beginning.
Fascinating.
And then that fellow, his name was Dennis Peterson. He just passed away a couple months ago.
Sorry.
And he also got 4 of his students together and formed a band. That would have been my first band, and he showed us how to play together.
Nice. That's good.
That was, so that everyone has their part and they're all important.
And then also to learn how to merge together and when not to play, especially to let the other person have their own side.
Yes. All those important lessons that don't necessarily come naturally.
True. Yeah. So that's kind of good. It sets a good footing and a good foundation for years to come.
Yeah. That's exactly what he did for me. Yeah.
That's perfect. And I'm guessing as time goes on, you get more inspirations, you learn a whole bunch more because you never stop learning. When do you think was your probably pinnacle moment in your early on years when you were playing, like possibly seeing your favorite band or playing with someone? Or
no, I don't know. In those early years, I don't know that I could say that. But at one point, we all start out with a cheap instrument, and you gradually move on to something a little better. This teacher of mine would lend me his, what I think was a 1956 gold top Les Paul guitar, which I wish I had now. And I'd take it home for a week or so, and learn that stuff. And that was electric guitar playing. And it's a little different style, a little different. But I like that. I like that. And then, of course, I was groomed to be a lead player by then.
Sure.
So that, so when you pick up an electric guitar, all these different types of guitars, when you put them in your lap, when a guitarist puts them in his lap, he just naturally gravitates to a different style. So now I just picked up an electric guitar. Here happens to be a model after a Fender Telecaster, but there's a definite sound to it, and you play differently. So,
Sure.
that's the kind of stuff you play with these guitars. It doesn't mean you can't play the other style,
Sure.
but it's different. It's
Right.
different. And that was important to me to get different types of instruments. And of course, as I played, I was becoming more and more interested in rock music simply because that's what I was exposed to.
Right.
More, all my friends liked, and I grew up in the greatest era ever, I think,
Yes, I agree.
for learning music and for going through phases. Except I missed the big band era.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I would have loved to have been there too. But on the other hand, I was the kid that would listen to the Lawrence Welk show because I enjoyed listening to the arrangements.
Right.
And Willard Scott, I believe the guy's name was, did the arrangements for Lawrence Welk, and I thought that was fantastic. If I would have said that to anyone else, I would have been laughed at. But that's what I was appreciative of.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Perfect.
How music went together.
Yeah, and just merged. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's hear how all that inspiration came to be, and let's hear another tune.
Oh, boy. Whatever came on at the time, you had to learn as a guitar player. So every riff there was, you learned it, and and you had to impress people. So.
Right.
Kind of hard to play this song by yourself, though. I need you here to play a little rhythm. Or how about this?
Eventually, you move into Lake Park, and you have this. I mean, it's pretty apparent to people like me and many others that a big influence is Buddy Holly, because you're well renowned in the area to do a Buddy Holly tribute show every now and again. And how did that get started?
I always liked Buddy Holly, and I'm sure I was playing his tunes before he died. I'm that old. But other than playing his tunes, first of all, I was never the singer in these bands. I didn't sing till later in life. I just liked his music. But I eventually got asked to do a show with members of the original Bobby V's band.
Oh.
And, of course, many of you know the history behind that was that Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper died in a plane crash, along with the pilot, Roger Peterson, on the way to Fargo-Moorhead to do a show. And Bobby V, as a youngster, filled in for them, and that's kind of how he got his start. It didn't happen immediately, but so I had that interest and I had that background. I knew all those tunes. Well, these gentlemen from Bobby V's band had been asked to do a kind of like a history show.
Oh.
And so they wanted to put together this theater-style show and needed a Buddy Holly guy. And I had worked with them a couple times, or quite a few times actually, and they came to me right away and asked to do that. So I went out and bought a couple books. There's a lot of material on the whole topic. And
Right.
and at that point, I knew nothing in comparison to when you start studying that whole story and the history behind it. And I just found it fascinating. I like the story more than anything of how he got popular, what he went through, which is the same as me, you know. So eventually we put together the show, and it went over well. So
And also when you did all your Buddy Holly stuff, and I can attest to this as well, that which is actually another thing that I've learned so well from you, is how to perform, how to tell the story, all that stuff. And I just admire it every time I get the chance to see it. Because, for instance, when the new school in Lake Park opened, you did the Buddy Holly tribute then, and I was just blown away. I mean, this was before we did guitar lessons, and it was just like remarkable.
Yeah. It's quite a story, but it's really a story for my generation.
Wow.
Because it's harder. You are in the minority for people your age to appreciate that because you didn't grow up with that. You've heard the name, but the music would probably only be re-recordings of his music. You know, somebody else recorded this song and made it a hit, you know.
Right.
But for those people, there are so many people around Fargo-Moorhead that remember that night when he didn't show up.
Sure, yeah.
Or I've met a number of people that were at the show in Iowa when his last show. I can remember one gentleman in particular. You know, after some of my shows, there'll be like a line of people that come up and they want to talk to you and whatnot.
Right.
And I can remember one fellow waiting in line, and I noticed him because he was by himself and he just looked saddened. And he got to me and he honestly had a tear in his eye, and he said, "I was there." He said, "You don't know what this means to me," you know. So bringing back and recreating those memories for people is important.
Right.
You know, it's important to do.
And with that whole performing knack, did that kind of come naturally, or is that something you had to work on? How to be
you work on that.
presentable,
Yeah, you work on that, and you learn from other people.
Right.
You know, that is a story I can tell you. While that first happened, I was probably in high school or early college years, and had been playing in what we call garage bands.
Right.
And, you know, in your hometown, you're never lucky enough to find enough musicians to really make great garage band, you know, but you get by and you have fun.
Right.
You
That's
have
the
a
point.
great time. Especially in those days, it was just fun. Good, clean fun, I should put it that way. And, well, then I kept hearing about a band that was coming through and starting to tour through the area. They were from Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh.
And they were called the Flippers.
The Flippers.
And eventually they changed that, or it became the Fabulous Flippers.
Ah.
And I said, they can't be that good, a stupid name like the Flippers, you know. Until I saw them. And I can remember goosebumps and the hair just stood up on my arms when I experienced that. I'd never seen something like that done.
Right.
They had a show, and everything was choreographed, every song.
Wow.
Eight people in the band dressed up with matching suits.
Oh, wow.
Flashing lights, the whole routine. I'd never seen that. And that truly amazed me. Yes, the Beatles impressed me, that type of stuff, because of the complexity of their music.
Right.
Beach Boys, you know. But it wasn't until I saw the Flippers that I saw a different side of music, and that would be the showmanship behind it.
Okay. So you kind of just took some pointers from them.
Yeah, and then you start noticing that more.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I know this is probably a weird question because you get asked it all the time, but I would like to clear up now while it's recorded. Did you or did you not play with the crickets?
I did not play with them, but
you met them.
I spent an evening
Right.
sitting at a table talking with them, and it was a highlight for me.
Sure, because I know that's probably like a poking question, but...
Yes. No, obviously, Buddy Holly and the Crickets, and the
Right.
Crickets were the only ones left. There's two original Crickets. Actually, he used an additional guitar player many times, but the real Crickets were just three of them together. Buddy, the drummer, and the bass player. Well, so I got to sit at a table and chat with these guys, and yes, that was a great moment.
I bet.
And I believe Jerry Allison's the only one left now. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
So all these people are slowly dying off.
Yeah,
That's,
unfortunately.
new generations take over.
Yeah, as it goes. Now, I don't know if you caught this at the beginning of the show, but the show's called Taste of Talent on the Road, which is inspired from the concert series I was doing, which I couldn't do last year because of COVID and all that stuff. But I try and phoenixed it into this. And I'd like to thank you for performing at the first one. And I don't know if I ever actually told you this, but I said on an interview before that the whole reason that I did Taste of Talent to begin with was just to get an excuse to play with you on stage.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Well, it kind of was. I mean, because the one that's, inspired me the most, and then play with them on stage would be the biggest gift. So I made it happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to show you singing the Merle Haggard tune at the first Taste of Talent, if that's okay with you.
That is fine. I don't remember it, to be honest.
It was a while ago, so I don't blame you. So here's Lewy Ronken's performance at the first Taste of Talent in 2016.
They're a true story. Probably the first song he wrote. First thing I remember knowing is a lonesome whistle blow and a young man growing up to ride on a freight train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound. My mama tried, but mama tried. One and only rebel child from a family meek and mild. My mama tried, just knew what was in store. Despite all my Sunday learning, through the bad I kept on turning, till mama couldn't hold me anymore. And I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could turn me right, but mama tried, mama tried, mama tried to do me better, but her pleading I denied. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause mama tried. Dear old daddy, rest his soul, left my mama heady low. She tried so very hard to fill his shoes, working hours without rest, wanted me to have the best, but I rebelled. How could I refuse? And I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. My mama tried me right, but mama tried, mama tried, and mama tried to save me better, but my pleading I denied. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause mama tried. Mama tried.
You're tuned into A Taste of Talent on the Road. I'm Jacob. I'm joined here with Lewy Ronken. Again, thanks for doing this. I can't say it enough. I would just like to say again, well, not again, but just out blank that, in all honesty, you were probably the sole person of how I became the person I am today, if that made any sense. Where it's like you're the one musically, well, and everything else. I mean, just the one little act of teaching me how to play a guitar has changed it and made everything else way better, and I really appreciate that from you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I've always loved your teaching style with it because it was a lot personable, and it was one-on-one, so there wasn't a class to teach to, so we could actually work on some things. And so I've always, I don't think I've ever actually said that, but thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We've all had those people in our lives. I mentioned Dennis Peterson was mine.
Right. And in a previous show that I did, I kind of blew some smoke towards your way about you, but hopefully it's not too embarrassing. Another thing that you've mentioned before is like of all your well-paleted music experience that you can just pick and choose from on what you want to play, which is perfect.
Yeah. A jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, that's one way of putting it.
Well, it's kind of true because, there are tons of great guitar players out there. Just in our area, go to Fargo. Oh, there's a lot of great guitar players.
Yeah.
Finding one that can do a little of everything is a little harder.
That's true.
Because the shredders sit in their bedroom and they practice those fast licks over and over and over again, until you get tinnitus in your fingers or something, And, whatever the style may be. But it's harder to cross over because so much of it depends on exposure playing it for years.
Right.
You just don't pick it up and practice for a couple hours and become a master in that. It takes time,
Another thing that you're also well-renowned for is, everything that's behind us is something you built.
Oh, yeah.
How did that get started?
I started my career as an industrial arts teacher, it was called in those days, and my specialty was woodworking.
Okay.
And I met someone along the way that had built a guitar. And that in itself was pretty unique in those days.
Sure.
And so I just found some manual or something somewhere with some directions, and I went to work and built one.
Wow.
And now I've been doing it for many, many years. I wish I would have numbered them, but going by, I know how many I've built a year and how many years I've been doing it. So I think I'm on about 190 or in that range.
Wow.
And, because I've done, as of recently, I do 4 or 5 a year.
Wow.
And I've done more other years, but yeah, I love doing that. I do. And I do that all the slow way by hand. I have no interest in kind of mass producing a certain model and doing 10 of them. I like the monotony of sitting down, and I cut all these little pieces of mother pearl. You have to have a magnifying glass to do it.
Right.
Cut them by hand and route out the area by hand and everything. And that's what I enjoy. Yeah. So that is one of my passions. The opposite of the spectrum is that bass, of course,
and
which
is
the biggest instrument I've ever done. I had to send to Slovakia to get the wood for that instrument because I couldn't find any in the United States.
Wow.
And quite an experience.
And now I know that this bass kind of caused a lot of headache when you were in the process of building it.
Oh, yeah. A lot of issues, and mainly because of its size.
Right, yeah.
It's just a bigger instrument. I don't like building anything too big nor too small. I've done a mandolin, and it turned out great, but I don't want to do another mandolin because it was the fancy, what they call F-style, and it's got all these curves and these little areas you had to get into, and it was kind of a battle.
I can imagine.
I would build them even if I had to take them to the dump when I was done. It's the process I like.
Sure.
I just love building things. I spend my days in one of my shops. You know that.
Well, yeah.
And
if you're not in the house, you're in the
passion.
shop.
Yeah, that's right.
You've probably gotten it to be really fast, but maybe even like in the beginning, was it pretty slow getting a finished guitar?
Yeah, it always is because of the way I do it. Because I haven't worked at methods to speed things up. I'm always too engrossed in the one process I'm doing right now.
Right.
But I realized, and it took me many years to realize that. Well, that's what I like.
There you go. Yeah.
If I set up jigs and routing templates to do inlays on 10 guitars at once, that's not building a guitar,
Yeah.
And certainly not, you see a lot of people that hand-built a guitar, well, you look at it and they're buying parts and putting it together because you can do that now. That doesn't interest me. It's,
Right.
it's kind of cheating.
Right. Yeah. This is a maple neck from a Fender.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm certain that the process is grueling. But as you said, you like doing it, which, I mean, kudos to you. And it's a huge process. But
it is.
But once that finished project comes out, I bet it feels just great.
It does. I just a customer just picked up one here a couple of days ago. That was it was a Fender style guitar with a what we call a reverse headstock neck, and it was unique in many ways. What he wanted.
Right.
And to this day, when it gets to the point where I can plug that in and tune it up and listen to it, that's rewarding. That's all I need.
There you go.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
Louie, let's hear another tune. Actually, can I request one?
Sure.
Even if you don't really remember most of it, would you try and do Lake Park's the Town for me?
Oh. Oh. Boy, I don't know if I can get through a verse of that. All right, we'll see. That's a fiddle part. Take the cold winds of Alaska, if that's what you're really after. Take the hills and countries of Tennessee. Take my suitcase down and throw it. I'll be here now, don't you know it? Though I've been around, Lake Park's a town for me. 100 years ago, this town began to grow. When word came out, the railroad's coming through. Now I don't remember the words.
Peaceful country life.
No, not yet.
No, not yet? Oh.
Bring my life anew. Take the cold winds of Alaska, if that's what you're really after. Take the hills and country songs of Tennessee. Take my gaze on and throw it. I'll stay here now, don't you know it? Though I've been around, Lake Park's a town for me. Though I've been around, Lake Park's a town for me.
There we go. Thank you.
They used to have that on the Lake Park website. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. I didn't even know that.
Buddy Holly got his first chance to record after he performed as an opening act for Marty Robbins. I'm a white sport coat and a pink carnation. Yeah, see, you can finish that off. Well, Marty Robbins' road manager really liked Buddy Holly's music. So he said, I'm going to get you a recording contract. So he did. And they went to Nashville and did a session. And they did get a record out of it, but Buddy Holly figured it as a disaster. He wasn't at all happy because in those days, probably still to a certain extent, Nashville controls everything in the studio.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even let him play guitar.
Really?
And what came out, Buddy Holly loved Hank Williams. That was his favorite artist.
Sure.
But Hank Williams is his style. Remember we talked about?
Right.
And Buddy Holly liked to add to that. So he would get, he got that little bounce, a little rockabilly feel.
Yeah.
And that's how he wanted this song to turn out. And it wasn't strong enough for him.
Oh.
It came out more of as a country tune, but it's a good tune. It's first one he recorded that he had written,
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Sure. Go for it.
Blue days, black nights, the tears keep on falling for you, dear. Now you're gone. Blue days, black nights, my tears keep on calling for you, dear. You alone. Oh, memories of you make me sorry. I gave you reason to doubt me. Now you're gone, and I'm left here all alone with blue memories. I think of you. Oh, memories of you make me sorry that I gave you reason to doubt me, and now you're gone, and I know I'm left here all alone with blue memories, and I think of you. Blue memories, I think of you.
Yeah.
Neat tune, isn't it?
I love that tune.
You ever listen to these doo-wop shows on TV?
A little, yeah,
You know, on
yeah.
very public TV and
Yeah.
stuff. Oh, I like that stuff. They do a nice job because they get the original people back. And then whoever has written the arrangements for them are usually spot on. Usually they're very good, and that kind of stuff. I'm a real sentimental guy, and they can do I listened to one the other night, and I hadn't heard this particular act. I forget who it was now, but they came out and they did a song that was kind of buried. I'd forgotten about it, and just brought a tear to my eye. I react to things like that. You know, I react to music, and everybody does.
Yeah.
To some moment in their
Right.
life, you know. Well, it doesn't make any difference if it was 10 years ago or 60 years ago.
Right, and I find that amazing about music too, that it can do that to you. Just
Yes.
vibrations in the air can make you feel that way.
Yep.
Just astonishing.
Yep. It's a wonderful medium because of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or about the Big Bopper tune that no one knew he recorded.
Right. Yeah, I like that little segment because that threw me away. I was like, really? Or even your Arthur Smith
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
And I mentioned this to you, but I had a professor in Fergus Falls who he was teaching a rock and pop class, and I was like, "Oh, you're talking about Arthur Smith?" He goes, "Who?" Like, you're
He's
doing
too young.
this?
He's too
well,
young.
I mean, well, maybe, but it was like you're teaching rock and roll and you don't mention Arthur Smith. How? he didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just
you
astonished
realize
me.
that many of those stories are my interpretation.
Well, yeah, which is all you need is your interpretation.
That's true. This would be from my senior year in high school, I believe.
Oh,
Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Makes me wanna holler, hi-de-ho. Burns your tummy, don't you know? Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Grape wine in a mason jar. Homemade and brought to school by a friend of mine after class. Me and him and this other fool decide that we drink up what left. Chug-a-lug, so we helped ourselves. First time for everything. My ears still ring. Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Makes me wanna holler, hi-de-ho. Burns your tummy, don't you know? Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Now hang on.
there you go.
Trailers for sale or rent. Rooms to let 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pet. I ain't got no cigarettes, but 2 hours of pushing broom buys an 8x12 4-bedroom. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road, third boxcar, midnight train. Destination Bangor, Maine. Old worn out suit and shoes. I don't pay no union dues. I smoke old stogies I have found. Short but not too big around. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. King of the road. You can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Yeah, but you can be happy if you've a mind to. Can't go swimming in a baseball pool. You can't go swimming in a baseball pool. Can't go swimming in a baseball pool. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. Now all you gotta do is put your mind to it. Knuckle down, do it, do it, do it. You can't. Wait a minute, I got it mixed up. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. Can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, there we go. That was
old
fun.
Roger Miller.
Oh, yes, Roger. Well, Louis, we don't have that much time left, but I thought I'd give you the floor a little bit. And is there anything you'd like to say to anybody or anything? So before we really move on of anything.
Now you want words of wisdom. Boy, I don't have them.
Well, any spark of it, anyway.
No, I don't have them. But, I think everyone in their lives has regrets from something they didn't do. And if it relates to music, I can tell you what some of my regrets are.
Okay.
I know what I wanted to do, and I knew that early on. I would have loved to have been a studio musician.
Really?
I really think that was my calling. And it, I knew my abilities, and I loved arrangements and whatnot, and I think I could have done that. As a youngster in high school, I had a chance to run a music studio that this teacher of mine had for a summer, because he opened another one in another city. And I learned that summer that I didn't want to be a music teacher.
Oh.
And it was because I wasn't good at working with that many students that couldn't play.
Sure.
You yourself were an exception.
Oh, well.
There aren't that many like you that can take to music. That
Well, thank
doesn't
you.
mean it's not important for them to learn music, because there's so much you can learn from music in
Right.
itself. But there's a talent born with people that can become true musicians. You can't learn it all. There's something within you.
True. Yeah.
And they're far and few in between.
Yeah.
And I would have had a hard time listening to that clarinet and saxophone squawk. You know what I mean?
Yep. I know what you mean.
I don't have quite that patience.
Sure. Yeah.
So those are things. Just opportunities that at the moment didn't seem that important, but later in life,
Sure.
So you got to be attuned to that kind of stuff and take every opportunity as a learning experience.
Yeah, and no best words have ever been spoken, I don't think. Well, like I said, we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to thank you for doing this again. I had a big ball and a lot of fun, and I always appreciate having a conversation with you. And if we get to play some music, get to play some music.
Sure.
It's always the best.
All right.
And if you wouldn't mind, you could do one last tune. And if you remember, I remembered another tune I would like you to play if you could, because years ago with the jam session with the Punch stuff, I remember there being something going on between you and Barry, where you guys planned a song and you forgot a verse or something, and then Stephanie Schindler gave you a little poke in the side about something, and you saw her on her phone sometime, and you went into this big song of "Smartphones Can't Fix Stupid." And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. Do you think you can remember any of that?
I think I could, but give me 30 seconds.
Let's do it.
This is a song about old folks trying to get along with their smartphone. I bought me a smartphone, I use it all the time, but a smartphone can't fix stupid. Drive a little smart car, it starts on a dime, but a smart car can't fix stupid. Live in a smart home, I'm a real smart dresser. Try as I might, I'm no Ivy League professor. My phone's IQ is much higher than mine. A smartphone can't fix stupid. Just asked a preschooler how to use my phone. A smartphone can't fix stupid. My clock is stuck on Singapore's time zone. Smartphone can't fix stupid. Used to be the man, I had it going on, but since I got this phone, my brain cells are gone. My battery's dead because my charger's at home. My smartphone can't fix stupid. You can hear my phone a-ringing, funerals and weddings, and I'm always butt dialing you. I'm the original backdrops or factory settings, but it's in a bag of rice, 'cause I dropped it down my stool. Meant to say I love you when I sent that text, but a smartphone can't fix stupid. Comes out, I leave you when it auto-corrects. Smartphone can't fix stupid. Try to use the camera, should be easy to do. But I got a dozen pictures of my thumb and my shoe. And now I can't remember how to even call you. A smartphone can't fix stupid.
Well, again, Louis, thanks again. I've had a ball, like I said.
Thank
This
you.
has been a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Taste of Talent on the Road. Louis Ronken was in this episode. Next one we'll see. Have a good rest of your night. The following program has been brought to you by the Minnesota Arts, Cultural, and Heritage Fund. If you like what you hear and like to hear more, you can check out nijiradio.org or prx.org. I am Jacob Woody, and you've been listening to A Taste of Talent on the Road. Thank you so much for your time.